Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the turbulent final years of the northern and southern dynasties in Chinese history, there emerged a heroic figure, a man of striking appearance and sharp intellect, yet ultimately unable to escape the whirlpool of fate. He was none other than the Prince of Yongle of northern Qi, Gao Cheng. His name alone once struck fear into enemy ranks on the battlefield, while in later generations, it evoked a sense of tragic beauty. Born into a royal family marked by extreme chaos and decadence, he stood out as a clear-headed soul in an age of madness, but also became a sacrifice in the brutal power struggles of his clan. Today, let us delve into the legendary life of this masked god of war, traveling back more than 1,400 years to northern China, to see how Gao Cheng carved his own heroic saga amidst a world in turmoil. In the winter of 564 CE, Mount Mang, north of Luoyang in Hunan, was swept by bitter winds, with snow and dust swirling through the valleys. Two massive armies stood in confrontation, banners flapping in the cold wind. One side bore the character Zhou, the other Qi. This was a critical battle in the late northern and southern dynasties, one that would decide the fate of Luoyang, a key stronghold of northern Qi. The northern and southern dynasties marked another period of division in Chinese history following the Three Kingdoms era. In 439 CE, the Northern Wei unified northern China. However, by the late 5th century, internal strife split it into Eastern Wei and Western Wei. The Gao clan later overthrew Eastern Wei to establish northern Qi, controlling the lower Yellow River and Huai River regions, at one point pushing as far south as the northern bank of the Yangtze River. Western Wei evolved into northern Zhou, which emerged from Guangzhou and Longxi, expanding eastward to the central Yellow River and southward into Sichuan and the middle Yangtze region, opposing the southern Qing Dynasty. Northern Qi, northern Zhou, and the Qing Dynasty formed a tripartite standoff, at times allying, at times battling. Surrounding nomadic tribes such as the Turks and Khitans also intervened, making the situation highly complex. That year, northern Zhou allied with the Turks, assembling a force of 100,000 with the intent to capture Luoyang in one strike. Northern Qi had just 50,000 troops, including reinforcements, half the enemy's strength, and was in a dire situation. Yet at the center of northern Qi's formation, one young general would change the course of the battle. He was Gao Cheng, the Prince of Yongle. On the battlefield of Mount Mang, northern Qi's army was arranged in left, center, and right flanks. The central force was led by Gao Cheng, only 23 years old, wearing a fierce bronze mask with fanged features to conceal his real face. With 500 elite cavalry, he struck the Zhou forces like lightning. The Zhou troops were caught off guard and fell into disarray. Gao's right-wing general, Hu Legong, led cavalry to pin down the enemy, while the left-wing commander, Duan Shao, used a feinting tactic to lure the Zhou infantry into open terrain before launching a cavalry charge. After a successful first assault, Gao swiftly organized a second wave, driving toward Qianlong fortress, northwest of Luoyang. Qianlong had been a fortified stronghold since the Chao Wei period, and was now surrounded by northern Zhou forces. As defenders inside the city grew desperate, chaos suddenly erupted in the enemy rear. A cavalry unit had broken through and arrived at the gates. The leader removed his mask, revealing an extraordinarily handsome face. The city's defenders were overjoyed. It's Prince Yongle. According to historical records, Gao Cheng was so handsome that he feared it would reduce his battlefield intimidation, so he wore a fearsome mask. At that moment, removing the mask not only revealed his identity but greatly boosted morale. The defending general led archers out of the city to coordinate with Gao's cavalry in a pincer attack. The Zhou forces collapsed under the two-pronged assault, abandoning weapons and fleeing in panic. This battle, known in history as the victory at Mount Mang, lifted the siege on Luoyang. Gao Chenggong's fame soared, and he was hailed as a war god among the people of northern Qi. Soldiers even composed the song, Prince Lanling Enters the Battle, to praise his bravery. The song spread widely at the time and was passed down through the ages as a gem of ancient Chinese music. Celebrations broke out across northern Qi, lanterns lit up Luoyang, and people lined the streets to welcome their young hero. However, Gao Chenggong's title, Prince of Lanling, was not earned on the battlefield, but inherited. He was born into the royal Gao family of northern Qi. His father was Emperor Wenxuan of Qi, Gao Cheng, and his grandfather was Gao Huan, the founder of the dynasty. Though born a prince, Gao Chenggong seemed out of place in a family marked by chaos and cruelty. His story is not just a personal legend but also a mirror of his clan's rise and fall. Gao Huan, his grandfather, was the founder of the Gao clan of northern Qi, a legendary figure who rose from humble beginnings. His rise owed much to both personal talent and the opportunities of a troubled era. Born in 496 CE in Huaishua town, northern Wei, modern-day Baotou, Inner Mongolia, Gao Huan came from a poor family on the empire's remote frontier. Life was harsh. As a young man, he worked as a gatekeeper, inspecting travelers, a dull, low-paying job with no prospects. However, Gao Huan had one exceptional trait: he was exceptionally handsome. His looks were more than just attractive, they were unforgettable, and this charm became a defining trait of the Gao family line and a key factor in his fate. One day, while on duty, Gao Huan caught the eye of Lu Zhaojun, a noblewoman and daughter of a wealthy local aristocrat. She fell in love at first sight, refused food and drink, and insisted on marrying him despite fierce opposition from her family. They believed Gao was just a poor guard unworthy of her. But she held firm, even threatening hunger strike, until her father relented. She married Gao with a lavish dowry, opening the door for him to enter elite society. This marriage changed Gao Huan's life. Using his wife's dowry, he bought horses and secured a military position, beginning to rise in the ranks of Northern Wei. In the late Northern Wei era, the Six Garrisons Rebellion erupted, and frontier troops rose in revolt. Gao seized the chance and joined the powerful general Erzhu Rong. Erzhu was a warlord who dominated the court with military might. Gao Huan impressed him with sharp judgment and strategic insight, soon gaining his trust. Gao advised Erzhu to rally troops under the pretext of purging traitors around the emperor, a move that won popular support. Erzhu followed the advice, took control of the court, and became the Prince of Taiyuan. But his arrogance provoked backlash, and he was eventually assassinated by Emperor Xiaozhuang. After Erzhu's death, Gao moved swiftly to consolidate power, rallying troops and establishing himself as a new power broker in Northern Wei. Meanwhile, another general, Yuan Tai, rose in Guangzhong. Emperor Xiaowu fled to him, unwilling to be Gao's puppet. Northern Wei split in two. Gao Huan ruled the east as Eastern Wei, and Yuan Tai held the west as Western Wei, a division that would evolve into the conflict between Northern Qi and Northern Zhou. Gao Huan had 15 sons, 6 of them with Lu Zhaojun, Gao Cheng, Gao Yang, Gao Yan, Gao Zhan, Gao Yu, and Gao Ji. Among them, Gao Cheng and Gao Yang were central to the family's rise. Although Gao Huan lacked a formal education, he was a master of political strategy, firmly believing in the harsh law of the jungle: success makes the king, failure makes the villain. He passed these ruthless tactics to his sons, aiming to follow the path of the Chao and Sima clans by manipulating Eastern Wei and eventually seizing the throne. Gao Huan's most favored successor was his eldest son, Gao Cheng. Exceptionally gifted, he was a true prodigy. At the age of 11, he was already capable of handling complex diplomatic matters with articulate and logical responses. At 15, his father promoted him to the position of Shangshu Ling, chief of the Imperial Secretariat, making him responsible for all state documents. By 19, he served as Minister of Personnel and Grand General, overseeing key military and administrative affairs. His talents not only gratified Gao Huan but also earned the respect of the court. Though Gao Huan held real power in Eastern Wei, Gao Cheng's outstanding abilities gave people hope for the future. However, Gao Cheng had one fatal flaw: he was lustful and unrestrained. This flaw not only led to his downfall but also planted the seeds of tragedy for the Gao family. While Gao Huan was still alive, Gao Cheng had an affair with his father's favored concubine, Lady Zhengdach. She was originally the princess of the Northern Wei royal family and widow of the Prince of Guangping, whose husband had been killed during heir Zhu Rong's coup. Ambitious and stunningly beautiful, Lady Zheng sought to revive her status through Gao Cheng, fantasizing about becoming empress one day. When Gao Huan discovered the affair, he flew into a rage, and Gao Cheng's status as heir was in jeopardy. Fortunately, Gao Cheng used political manipulation to coerce a maid into recanting her accusation, claiming it was fabricated, which saved his position. But he did not change his ways. Later, he forcibly took the wife of a Northern Wei prince surnamed Yuan and imprisoned her. He also seized the wife of a minister named Gao Cheng, which enraged the latter and led to his defection to Western Wei. After Gao Huan's death, Gao Cheng became Grand Chancellor of Eastern Wei and began preparations to depose the puppet emperor and establish a new dynasty. However, in 547 AD, an unexpected incident occurred. He was assassinated in his own home by a household cook at the age of just 29. The Gao family fell into chaos, and the court was in turmoil. At this moment, Gao Huan's second son, Gao Yang, stepped forward. Gao Yang swiftly executed the assassin and publicly claimed that Gao Cheng had only been wounded, buying time to stabilize the situation. He rushed back to Qianlong, seized the power base his father had left behind, and reorganized the army. Once secure, he went all in. In 550 AD, he deposed the Eastern Wei emperor, declared himself ruler of a new state, Northern Qi, posthumously honoring Gao Huan as Emperor Shenwu. Gao Yang took the imperial title as Emperor Wenxuan. At the beginning of his reign, Gao Yang demonstrated remarkable leadership. Western Wei's Yuan Tai assumed Northern Qi was in disarray and launched an invasion, only to find that its army was more formidable than ever. He was forced to retreat. Gao Yang's decisiveness and capability earned admiration from the court. However, after 3 years, his behavior began to shift drastically. He descended into madness. Gao Yang was addicted to alcohol, and his drunken episodes led to uncontrollable violence. On one occasion, he barged into the home of a deceased official, asking the widow Li if she still missed her husband. When she replied that she did, Gao Yang sneered, "Then why haven't you gone to join him?" and promptly killed her with a sword, shocking the entire court. He later seized Lady Shui, the concubine of his cousin Gao Yu, and made her his own. Lady Shui was renowned for her beauty, and Gao Yang doted on her. But his paranoia imagined lingering affection between her and his cousin. Consumed with jealousy, he sent people to interrogate Gao Yu, who soon died from stress. Gao Yang's insanity only escalated. At a palace banquet, he suddenly burst into tears. As courtiers panicked, he pulled Lady Shui's severed head from under the table and declared that she had been unfaithful and was already executed. Everyone was horrified, and the feast ended in dread. Even more grotesquely, Gao Yang fashioned a pipa, a Chinese lute, from her thigh bone and played it while singing, "A beauty like her is no more, how tragic." Later, he held a grand funeral for her, sobbing with disheveled hair as if overcome by grief. His atrocities didn't stop there. Gao Yang installed a giant saw in the palace and used it for drunken executions. Years of alcohol abuse destroyed his mental health. He claimed to see ghosts and could no longer eat solid food, relying entirely on alcohol to sustain himself. In 559 AD, he died of alcohol poisoning at the age of 33. Historian Li Yanshou described him in the Book of Northern Qi as a ruler of debauchery and brutality. After Gao Yang's death, the royal household of Northern Qi did not improve. His son, Crown Prince Gao Yin, reigned for just 1 year before being deposed and murdered by his uncle Gao Yan. Gao Yan ruled for 2 years before dying of illness and was succeeded by his brother Gao Zhan. Gao Zhan was even more ruthless than Gao Yang. Though he promised to spare Gao Yan's young son Gao Bainian, he soon had the child killed in cold blood. Gao Zhan also coerced Gao Yang's widow, Empress Li Zuyi, into submission through despicable means. Though he oversaw the compilation of the important Qi Code, he soon lost interest in governance and passed the throne to his son, Gao Wei, assuming the title of retired emperor. Gao Wei inherited all the absurdities of his bloodline. He once forced his favorite concubine, Feng Xiaolian, to strip naked in court, calling her a national treasure, and demanded his ministers critique her body, an infamous tale of obscene depravity. Gao Wei's life was decadent. He gave titles to pets and even disguised himself as a beggar for amusement. He simultaneously envied and feared the achievements of Prince Lanling, Gao Chenggong. After the great victory at Mount Mang, Gao Wei summoned Gao Chenggong and scolded him for recklessly charging into enemy lines. Gao Chenggong replied, "The country and I are one. I couldn't help myself." This remark sowed suspicion in Gao Wei's mind, who began to believe Gao Chenggong harbored ambitions. In 571 AD, Gao Wei executed the great general Hulu Guang. General Duan Shao had already died of illness. Gao Chenggong realized he was also being targeted and considered retiring. But before he could make a decision, Gao Wei sent him a bottle of poisoned wine. Gao Chenggong drank it with a bitter smile and died at the age of 29. He was the only clear-headed soul in the royal family, and his death marked the collapse of Northern Qi's military backbone. Gao Chenggong's loyalty and bravery made him a singular figure in the history of Northern Qi. He never participated in the family's mad power games or indulged in personal desires. His bronze mask, his surprise assault at Mount Mang, and the famous Prince Lanling enters the battlefield ballad became enduring legends. Yet, in the whirlwind of his family's madness, he could not escape fate. The royal insanity of Northern Qi did not end with Gao Chenggong's death. Gao Wei continued his debauchery, and the nation rapidly declined. In 577 AD, Northern Zhou launched another invasion, and no one in Northern Qi could stop them. Qianlong and Yecheng fell one after another, and Northern Qi perished, surviving only 27 years. Ultimately, the fall of Northern Qi stemmed from the madness of the Gao family. From Gao Yang to Gao Zhan and Gao Wei, their bizarre and violent behavior seemed hereditary, as if mental illness plagued the bloodline. Even a talent like Gao Chenggong could not save the dynasty. The story of Prince Lanling, Gao Chenggong, is like a glimmer of light in an age of chaos, still shining with humanity amid blood and violence. His courage and compassion make us forget the royal family's madness and remind us that even in darkness, one person's choices can forge an eternal legend. His military feats, his iconic mask, and the Prince Lanling enters the battlefield ballad have long transcended the rise and fall of dynasties and become one of history's most moving notes. The fall of Northern Qi also proves that the collapse of a regime often stems not from rebellion by the people, but from the blindness and corruption of its rulers. When Northern Zhou effortlessly took over Northern Qi's lands and people, what we witnessed was a dynasty consumed by its own power games, while ordinary people continued to survive resiliently through the passage of time. This is the story of Prince Lanling, and the echo of his era. The rise and fall of the Gao family of Northern Qi is like a mirror reflecting the lure of power and the complexities of human nature. In that war-torn era, heroes and madmen coexisted, and tragedy intertwined with legend. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.